Welcome back to Under Oath. Welcome back to Legally Screwed. You know, I got new eyes.
I heard you got new eyes.
Steve Austin eyes. Boop, 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 boop.
There you go.
Boop, 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 boop.
You're stronger, faster, better.
I can see.
Without any help, no readers, none of that good stuff. No,
nothing, man. I got the lenses put in.
Gotcha. You got, not the laser, the lenses.
Lenses.
That's wild.
I want you to know something. All right, let me tell you how this works, people. They're called refractory lenses.
Yes.
Refractory. And they cut a slit. They pull your lens out.
Your natural lens.
Yeah, they cut it. I hear a lot of zzz, zzz, zzz. There's a lot of zzz going on. So there must be something. And everything goes red because it's bleeding. Because they don't knock you out.
I was going to say, you were awake?
I was awake. But they did do something cool, though. They go, and I don't take drugs. I'm not a drinker. I don't take drugs. I'm not saying I did it in the past. I'm just saying that, I don't do it now. He says to me as I walk in there, the woman goes, would you like Valium? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you like 5 or 10? Is 10 more? I want to make sure I'm going in the right direction.
It's 10 more.
Is 10 more? Yes.
Yeah,
10 please.
Got it.
And I'm sitting there.
You feel good?
Now you're awake through this process.
I bet you
now
are.
They put the things in there. It numbs the eye up a little bit, but the eye is cranked open like some horror movie, like sci-fi, where they hold the eye open, and the guy keeps going, look down, look down. They look down. I don't want to look anywhere.
I want to
pretend I'm not here.
Yeah.
And I start wondering, why am I doing this?
How long does that take? How long will you like
15.
that? 15.
But it feels longer.
Like
now, some people it's cool. Some people go, it was nothing. For me, sitting in the chair on Valium, looking around going, and then here's the freaky thing that happens. Oh, it's scary. It goes red because the blood is there. It's suddenly red, and then there's no light. And then suddenly there's light again.
Because they take the lens out and it goes black.
And I don't know if it's the blood or him over it, but in both eyes, there was like about 20 seconds where it was black. And I was going, am I blind now? And I know there are doctors out there who go, no, you weren't blind. It was all these other things.
But you couldn't see anything.
I couldn't see. I just could see. And then they put the thing back in, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm amazed that I can see immediately.
Right away.
I was expecting there's some cloudiness, but you're going, wow, I'm not blind.
No, you're not blind.
Now, I will tell you this. Barring anything going wrong in the next month, 2 months, a year, the amount I spent to get my eyes fixed and knowing I can't get cataracts or anything else like that again.
It's worth it.
I don't understand why everybody doesn't do it.
You would tell everybody to get this surgery done.
How much do glasses cost you normally? $200-$300?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in the last 10 years, have you bought more than 20 pairs?
Yes.
Well, you paid for your surgery.
Huh.
All right.
Now I got something for you.
Okay, what do we got?
It is time for Legally Screwed, my friend.
Oh, God, here it comes. People doing dumb stuff or somebody saying dumb things and everybody wants money.
Okay, every now and again, I read one of these and I'm like, I understand. I get this because I've wanted to do this and I didn't think this was possible. Here, you're going to follow me. You're going to know exact spot I'm talking about when I read it. Okay. This is fast food verbal assault, sir. Now, I'm a manager at a fast food restaurant. This morning, a customer came through the drive-thru. He placed a large order and we asked him to park. He refused. After I handed him his food, he said, you guys need to work on your times. I responded, dude, screw you.
The manager said screw you?
Yes, he did.
Uh-oh.
Now, if you don't like it, then don't come here. He then called back later and said he was going to file verbal assault charges and come after my job. My question is this really verbal assault? This happened in Colorado.
Well, you know, Colorado's a pretty sensitive state here.
It is.
Remember Colorado, they shoot buffalo in Colorado.
I remember that.
You know, now they just eat buffalo wings. But they're vegan buffalo wings, so they're not real.
Oh, come on, bro.
They're paste. Colorado changed.
Okay.
Technically, most assault would be verbal.
Okay.
Because it's the threat of doing something.
That's correct.
So I guess if I lift my hand up, that could be assault. So it's a verbal assault. Could you imagine you're the police officer? The 911 operator. I was driving through the stop. Ma'am, could you breathe?
Calm down.
Please breathe.
It's okay.
Breathe. And he told me to pull up and wait. And I told him no.
Yeah.
And he said I could go somewhere else. and I want to file charges.
It's okay, ma'am. Work through it. It's okay. It's fine.
Ma'am, breathe. Just breathe, please. Because he's worried about getting sued because he wasn't sensitive enough that she died calling 911.
Correct.
See, that's where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Did he threaten you with violence? It was violent speech.
Violent speech.
Ooh.
That's great. That is fantastic.
Was aggressive?
It was aggressive.
Did he threaten your life? It threatened my emotional life. Oh, God. Oh, God. Please. Please. We do not have laws that will cover feelings.
There you go.
We don't have them.
There you go.
So, no, you were not verbally assaulted. And I'm going to say you were not assaulted.
Got you.
Okay? There's no assault there.
No.
When you get, watch it. Hey, Biff, go somewhere else. Still not assault.
That's all.
And that's not what even happened.
He's actually helping you with directions, telling you where you could go.
No, he was basically saying, listen, come on. We're full. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. What you got was ambivalence.
Yes.
He's like, listen, I got 400 people in line. If you stay in line, it slows everything down.
Mm-hmm.
First off, it's going to slow everything down anyway by me having to go out and hand you your stuff, but it slows it down less if you move forward.
Yes.
All right. Now, what you do have is I call the company and I say, listen, the guy told me to pound sand and go somewhere else, which might get the guy fired.
It might, especially if you're a manager and it's a chain and your customer service isn't where it need to be.
All right. I'm going to give you one to grow on, people. I'm going to make your life better. All of you. Please listen to me. Stop being offended. There is enough going on in your life to really care about that what somebody says on the internet, what somebody says politically, what somebody believes, how you feel, the way somebody looked at you. It is not worth your time and effort to care about this. Work on saving the world, not saving your feelings.
That's a good one.
There are so many good things.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know how I changed?
How?
I have a gratitude statement I say every day.
What is it?
Everyone has to come up with their own. Mine basically says, I'm fortunate for the day. I'm fortunate to get to live another day, to love, to learn, and to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Every breath is a gift, and every moment is an opportunity to live better and to have a better life. Not one of those statements said, I could be mad at the Starbucks person who asked me to move forward. Because you know what you could do when you move forward? Take out a book. Read something. Do online learning.
Text your wife you love her.
Yes. Talk to somebody. Say, hey, Mom, I haven't called you in 2 days, but I want you to know, thank you for being fantastic.
It's nice.
There are so many great things we can do in life that have nothing to do with, I'm upset, I feel betrayed, I feel less. We live in a world right now where everyone's angry.
Mm-hmm.
And we should stop doing that. There's no point to it. Like, I joke around with you, but I'm not angry about life.
No.
No matter where I'm in my world, thank God I'm still here.
Yes.
I was in the Army. I went places where people have nothing.
Correct.
And we're griping about internet speed.
Yes. Yes.
Forget internet. These people don't have water.
Yes.
There are people drilling in Africa. They're going, you know what? What I would do for a glass of water. We're complaining about what's in our water.
Correct.
Just find the good things in life.
Yeah.
You're going to be much happier. And I'm not saying kumbaya with drums and sit around and meditate and all this other stuff, but there's so many things available to us to allow us to have a better time. So when you get asked to pull up, you know what you say? Sure, I had something I had to do anyway. Everyone thinks what they have to do is what they're doing now.
Yes.
Multitask.
There you go.
There's something on your list that you can knock out while you're sitting there waiting for your cappuccino, their $500 milkshake to come to you.
Correct.
And that's what these are. Anytime you order from Starbucks and it's over 400 calories, you just drank a quarter of your calories for the day.
You ain't lying about that.
Trust me, I lost 40 pounds ordering smarter from Starbucks.
There you go. I always have one saying I live by every single day. It could always be worse.
Well, back to two attorneys arguing. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman, and like usual, my partner for 28 years, Craig Lind, is sitting next to me. See, a lot of people have a bad impression of public defenders, and sometimes they should.
Well, yeah.
We saw some bad ones.
Yeah, there's two kinds of public defenders.
Do you think this dude's dead? The one I'm thinking about? The one who wore the sombrero to court?
The guy who is a
We
member,
can't say his name. No,
I know.
He might still be alive.
He was a member of the World Church.
No. No, I'm talking about.
He would be the one wearing.
Remember the dude who threatened to fight you? It rhymes with pukey.
Oh, he was out of his mind.
Yeah, he was. We can't say the
No,
name.
I think he threatened to fight you.
Oh, remember the court? You walked up to him and he ran out of the courtroom.
Yeah, I remember him running away. Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't over me. That was over
I
you.
think it was over you.
No, what do you mean? I wasn't even there.
I was sticking up for you.
Okay,
I was defending him.
Here's the thing.
He called you a name. I didn't like it.
Was it the guy never showed up? Was he had a problem with the? We tried everything, and we won.
He wouldn't try anything to save his life.
See,
remember that?
Here's the thing with public defenders, and this is kind of a hot take. Yeah, you can be screwed, but you can be screwed for two reasons. I'm going to go the first one. I'm going to do the one you're not thinking about. You could be screwed because the judge has very little respect for clients who don't pay for their own attorneys. And we know that private attorneys got a lot more respect in the criminal defense system than public defenders. And that's just the way it is. And if you're a judge and you're upset with what I said, stop it, because that happens.
I don't think that's because the attorney is a public defender. I think it's because the private attorneys have money to contribute to their judicial campaign. So I think that's like a business decision.
That feels a little worse. That feels a little worse than what I just said.
Yeah.
I got bribed. It's better than I got bribed. No.
A little mixture of both. I just don't want to think that the judge would automatically just disrespect you because you're a public defender.
I don't think they do. I think that was my belief.
I think if you're a good attorney, they'll respect you.
How many motions did we win the minute we became private attorneys? In comparison to, you had these motions, you had 12 pages of stuff. And they would slam
They wouldn't even look at the cases sometimes.
No. But if you're a private attorney,
they
look at those cases.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing, and that's a big deal. Second issue is this. Normally it's where attorneys learn how to practice law. They're actually getting experience
and that's
on
point,
somebody's freedom.
That's a point I want to make, because there are two types of, you just said there are two types. I think that there
No, I said there are two major issues.
All right, well, there are two types of public defenders you're going to get. You're going to get the guys who can't get a job anywhere else, and they're going to be there.
They stay in that job.
They're going to be there forever.
Yeah.
If you have a public defender and he's been a public defender for a long time, be very, very careful, because that might be the only job he can get, or he might really like it.
It could be great.
There's some people
guys who
are
good.
Awesome, who've done it for a lot of years.
But the math is against it.
Yes. Usually the ones who are good realize that they're good fairly early on, and they're only there for a year or two to get some trial experience. That's what we did. We got a ton of trials under our belt so that when we went out, we could say that we had them.
Okay, let's see what we have here, because they gave me the piece of paper and you can't hold them anymore because you make too much noise. All right. Someone wrote a book about me. I broke up with my ex. Ooh, you got Taylor Swift. Through text after doing so in person. Wait, you can't break up twice. I did this because I was hours away in a hospital with my son.
In case I left anything out the first time.
Hey, I didn't crush your soul enough the first time, so let me just step on you. Now I find out she's writing a book about me that is about to be released. I'm scared it's going to be an invasion of my privacy. An invasion of my privacy.
Yeah.
You want to break this up?
I don't know if it can be an invasion of your privacy. The true statements of what you did in a relationship. Can that be an invasion of privacy? I don't think so. You don't have an expectation of privacy as between you and your partner.
Well, Taylor Swift did it, but they did it to celebrities. Celebrities, the privacy issue is different with celebrities
because
you have to show actual malice.
Well, they make you sign
but they have to show actual malice.
Well, no, I'm not. You're not talking about slander or
celebrities.
Libel. You're talking about
press.
They make them sign non-disclosure agreements.
Well, some do.
So I could tell you all about Taylor Swift, and all of it's true. It's not slander or libel, but that's why they have I don't mean I could tell you about Taylor Swift. I mean the imaginary boyfriend of Taylor Swift.
Think of some of the worst songs that people put out that you knew it was a celebrity.
What do you
mean? Whole albums were written to tear somebody's head off.
Oh, I don't pay that close attention.
Like Taylor Swift does it with a song. She doesn't do it with like the whole album is about some dude. It's like this song was about this dude, and everyone knows who that dude was.
Oh, the only one that comes to mind is Eminem. I think he specifically names. I mean, it's not. He doesn't.
Well, that was his ex-wife.
He doesn't leave it to chance. Yeah. Like he names her.
Was it his mother too? God.
No, I don't know if he mentioned.
See,
his
I was
name.
smart. In my comic books, I would create a character and I'd screw the name up really badly. And I knew exactly who that character was.
You didn't screw it up that badly. Anyone who knows that character in real life, the one you're talking about,
Well,
and
it
you,
depends.
they know.
It
They know who
depends.
you're talking about.
It depends.
I knew everybody you were talking about because you always made them rhyme with their real name. So I knew exactly what you were talking about every time.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, think about that. You're a regular citizen, though. We know the protections for celebrities are like nothing. But for a regular citizen, the truth is always a defense to it.
Yeah, I don't think you have any sort of privacy rights to stop somebody from describing their experience with you.
Who is that girl? Alanis
Unless you
Morissette?
sign a non-disclosure agreement ahead of time.
Didn't Alanis Morissette wrote the Jagged Little Pill was all about the guy from Full House? Dave
so
Coulier.
lost.
Remember
I'm so
the
bad.
guy who did all the voices? What
That
was
is
his name?
like pop culture, trendy stuff.
Joey
that
from
I
Full
just-
House. I'm happy for you. Remember that?
Oh my God.
I,
What are you doing?
I'm
Stop it.
I'm doing the most masculine version of this I can.
There's nothing masculine about what you just did. Stop it. Delete everything.
Stop it.
Dave, do not let this
Listen.
leave the studio.
But no, when you're in a relationship, if somebody wants to write something about you and it's true, like let's say you like, or something like that, don't ask me what that is. But
If I like something.
if you like something weird and they decide to post it.
Oh, so if there's a certain thing that I like to do, and then whoever I was with is no longer with me anymore,
Yes.
there's no reason to keep it private.
And
And they go, oh, he likes to
And she goes,
ABC this.
she's doing her makeup videos.
She's-
You wouldn't believe this. A guy I know,
He is
Greg Bind.
I'll change the name to protect the innocent.
His name's Greg Bind. You might know him from Bunder Both. That's the problem. You just had
Did
to
that
deal
guy
with the
give
friends.
his name? What was his name?
No,
Oh,
I ain't doing that. He's suffering enough. There's going to be a book out there, but who's going to read that book?
yeah. Who would? And how would she get it published? Who is she that anyone would publish?
Unless
this?
she's into really weird crap. And it's like
Well, it's like so over the top that people read it just for the
50 Shades of
macabre.
Pink or something.
Yeah, okay,
Something
yeah.
like that.
50 Shades of.
Some like 22-year-old. I don't know. I look at these things sometimes and I wonder, what world we live in and why everyone's stuff has to be out there.
It's content.
That's content.
We all demand. It's our fault.
Yeah, we do it too.
We demand content all the time. New content, interesting content. The more interesting, the better.
Yeah.
Our lives are. We don't have to like harvest or hunt anymore. We're made to harvest and hunt and be out in the wild and kill things and build shelter. We don't do any of that. So we have all this time on our hands to do nothing. We need to fill it with something. So we try to find something to entertain us at least.
So we're just producing
And
garbage.
we need more and more outrageous things to entertain us. Some of us like to be offended. We need more and more offensive things to offend us.
I don't know if I could be offended anymore.
We like to laugh. We need funnier and funnier things to laugh. You can only watch so many comedians and okay, I've heard everything.
I'm no longer offended. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. I have gotten weird questions. People do call me with the weird legal stuff, and you and I both know it's impossible to say you can't be bothered anymore, because then you get hit with that one. You're going, "Ooh, that's a good one. How did I never hear this one?" You sit there. I can't.
Give me an example.
No, I can't.
What?
Confidentiality. Can't do it. I
What are
got
you
one
talking
yesterday. I got one yesterday. It was a bad one.
A question?
bad.
A legal question?
It was an actual situation.
Oh.
And they ask you these questions and you sit there and you go, oh. And you got to tell them, shut up.
Shut up. Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell them any. No, I need this out there. No, you don't.
No, you really don't.
No, you don't. A year from now, you're going to thank you, Jeff. Thank you for telling me to shut up. I was going to put it all over my Facebook page. So yeah, people want to share their stuff and they don't realize they're not the heroes of their own story.
Yeah, but that's more content. And sometimes we like that. We like to see somebody write all about how they're mad at the spouse or the ex. But while they're doing it, you can kind of side with the person they're talking about. You're like, oh my God, you're ranting and raving. And actually, I think you're the problem.
You're the problem.
You're the problem.
In conclusion, it's pretty simple. There's a big thing that we didn't even talk about. You're going to sue them. For what? You can't get blood from a stone. And unless that book makes $50 million, she's still working at 7-Eleven at the end of the day.
And honestly, you might not want to. No one's going to pay attention until you start saying you don't want it out there. As soon as you start saying, hey, I don't want it out there, all the people who weren't paying attention are now going to think, why do you not want it out there?
Now your mother knows.
Now it's interesting.
Now Mama
I wasn't
knows.
even thinking about buying it.
Ma knows.
Until you said that you didn't want it out there. Now I have to buy it.
Grandy knows now. Your own grandmother's going, you nasty baby.
They'll call that, you know what South Park calls it? The Streisand effect. Barbara Streisand demanded that nobody put her address on the internet or something, or visit her.
They took pictures of her house from the code.
Like, next thing you know, everybody's doing it just to spite her. So don't be the person that people want to spite.
Yeah, and here's the problem. Could you imagine being Googled now when people look you up and your next girlfriend goes, ooh, stay away from the internet. It's not your friend. Today we have actor, producer, Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony, can you hear me?
I can, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, man, I can tell you about, we used to do wizard conventions together a long time ago. I was a comic book writer at the time, and I would bump into you every once in a while at these they were huge events, but we used to hang out in, like, have drinks and everything else at the bars at these conventions later on, and it was just such a smaller environment back then.
Yeah, it's a real culture that's grown, hasn't it? It's amazing. It started out with just comic book writers, as you know, I think in the 70s, and then it really spawned a whole industry. So I've been doing those shows for 20 years, and I'm proud to talk about it. They're a lot of fun. They bring people together, and it's a real culture, as you know. It's a lot of fun.
And I've got to meet a lot of actors on the job doing those conventions.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, my daughter was a huge fan of all the John Hughes movies, and she was like 8 or 9 at the time. And, I made time one time because she wanted to meet you and she wanted to meet Molly. And, Molly was her favorite actor at the time. And when she met you, It was over. She goes, you were unbelievably nice to you. I can't tell you how nice you were to her, and it changed her life. I mean, she's in theater and college right now, and a lot of that had to do with you.
Oh, that's really sweet to hear. I appreciate it. It's important to remember those connections you made. When I was growing up, people that I'd met, whether it's athletes or musicians or actors, you want to make a good impression. That's nice to hear. I'm glad your daughter's doing well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, you have a new movie, Roswell Delirium. I just saw you in Reacher, so you're all over the place right now.
Yeah. This is a co-production between my company, Manhattan Films, and the writer-director named Rick Bakewell, who's a great guy who's become a good friend, and his company, Light Force Pictures. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It has interesting sci-fi themes. It ultimately becomes a family drama because it's about a mother and a daughter, and it takes place sort of in present day, and then it flashes back to the 80s. And I play a character who is essentially a therapist who is running a kind of a group session with all these people that were either contactees that had sort of alien-like experiences, or they're dealing with some other issues. And so what happens is that I kind of help with, I help this young girl whose character's name is Mayday to make these connections with her own past. And so what you realize is that, you don't know if it's sort of happening in her head, or is she misremembering these things in terms of her being a contactee to the aliens. And ultimately what emerges is a story about mental illness. And you realize her mother is ultimately kind of, dealing with some challenges. So, it's a very interesting film. It has some lightness and some humor into it. It has sci-fi themes, and ultimately becomes sort of a family drama, as I mentioned. So it's powerful. And it's a really good project in terms of the actors and all the kids that really taught us all a lesson. Making the film, they all came to work super prepared. There's a cast of young actors that are wonderful in the film. And then we've got some great cameos from people like Dee Wallace Stone and Lisa Whelchel and Reginald Vell Johnson and Sam Jones, some older actors that really came in to support and did a great job as well. So it's a beautiful film. We're very proud of it. And it's available on Amazon and also on Apple.
Now, as a producer, you probably get offered a lot. A lot of scripts come to you, and you're constantly thinking, I don't know if this is the one, this is the one. How do you choose it and you say, yeah, I think this is the one we're going to do next?
Right. Well, it also starts, I think it also starts with the writing and being the blueprint. And And with my company, this is our second film. The first one we did was called The Class, and it was kind of a modern day spin on The Breakfast Club, actually, with a writer-director named Nick Solozzi, who was out of Chicago. And the same thing was true on this, where I was looking for a great script, and I was really impressed by Rick Bakewell, who's our writer-director, and he did a beautiful job with this. And as I said, it's sort of a compelling kind of family drama that emerges through these other things that are themes, and it's very powerful, and at the same time, there's a lot of fun, kind of lighter-hearted references to the 80s with some of the actors that people remember from that period. So I think Rick did a great job just putting together a really good script that we all wanted to go make. And then we went from there. Yeah, we shot the film about 2 years ago here in L.A., and it turned out beautifully. Yeah.
Well, since then, our government has decided to have hearings on UFOs and everything and actually legitimize it as a realistic thing that could be happening. While you're making this movie, are you thinking, oh, my God, the government might come out and say aliens do exist?
Well, absolutely, because that's something that we thought about, and it's interesting that Rick refers to Roswell in the film as Space Rock, so we kind of gave it this fictitious name, but, we actually shot sequences out by the Salton Sea for those sequences. And it's, and again, as you said, it's kind of hearkening back to the whole Roswell period. And a lot of people have differing ideas about that. Some people see it as completely gospel and real and legit, and some people see it as a lark, something that's maybe, a smokescreen, or something that's not necessarily legitimate. So it just depends on where you sit with that, But with this, it was interesting because Rick uses it as sort of a screen, because what you're realizing is the further we dig in with this character, and that's the character played by Ashton Selecki, and her character's name is Mayday, you see in the therapy that she's trying to come to peace with these things and these things that she was taught and that she was shown by her mother. And then really what emerges is you realize that I think the mother was really dealing with some mental health issues. And so it's really more simply about that,
Now, as a producer and creator, there's a lot more outlets open for movies than used to be. I mean, it used to be just cinema and that's it, but now you have all these streaming services. Is that an unbelievable opportunity? Are we living in a golden age right now?
I think so. I think it's a great question you brought up. Yeah, I mean, I often think about this in the context of time, like we're living in a new century. When we were growing up, it was like, we had 3 or 4 networks, right? It was 3 networks, then there was Fox, then we had cable in the 80s, and now here we are. Everything has become, quotes around this, content or streaming, right? So just for example, in the last 3 or 4 years of my own career, I've worked alternately for Amazon and Netflix a bunch, so I think it is a good opportunity. I weigh on the side of that it's a great opportunity because there's more choices now. And I think from a creative standpoint, filmmakers that had challenges, let's say, getting their film made as an independent can transfer to television and you're given a bigger canvas and you can create a limited series, so to speak. And so, I've seen that whether I'm working on shows like Reacher or that I went and shot a show like Wednesday in Dublin, Ireland for Tim Burton last summer. That's at the high end of the scale. And then at the smaller end of the scale, you have opportunities for young filmmakers like the guy I'm working with here, Rick Baker. We did a film that we're very proud of, but it is a one-off, standalone independent film. But thank God, it's premiering on Amazon and also on Apple, and it's available on VOD on those outlets. So to your question, yeah, I think it is a great opportunity. It's a great time because there is much more opportunity now. And more options, I think, for audiences, too, which makes it also good.
How tough is it as a producer when there's something in the script and you go, wow, this would be amazing, but it would just cost too much?
Well, it is challenging, but I think there's another aspect, too, which is technology has become lighter, more accessible, and more mobile, whether it's our phones or even on sets, big old traditional lights like, 5Ks and 10Ks and these huge lights you would see that were kind of always synonymous with filmmaking, are now replaced by like these light LED lights, and cameras are lighter. The camera bodies are lighter. There's a lot of technical aspects that have, I think, put the power in filmmakers' hands, because it's a lot easier to make stuff. At the same time, it's no less challenging to get it distributed. So you got to make good things, good projects. But I think it is an opportunity, absolutely, and in a new century where there's a lot of opportunities. And because of all these streaming networks, there's more room for more opportunity, and new voices, which I think is exciting.
I was talking to somebody the other day about that film and digital, and I said, film, you wouldn't see what happened until you got the film back. I mean, the huge advancement of moving to digital where you can see something immediately must just be an unbelievably helpful thing.
Well, you said it, because I've literally lived through that transition. When I was a kid starting out in the 80s on films, there would be dailies, and you'd wait for the film to return from the lab. And then the key primary people, like the producers and the directors, everybody would get together and watch the dailies. But often actors would be disallowed into the dailies because they don't want them to get too involved in their performance. And then all these years later, you go on a set, and the first thing you do is you go to Video Village, which is basically the director and the key department head sitting around a TV screen, and they're watching what's being filmed, right? So it's like, it's completely morphed where everyone is ultimately watching, from a small screen. Then, you cut to when I worked with a guy like the great Christopher Nolan back in 2007 when I did The Dark Knight, and he was walking around with a handheld, what's called a clamshell, which is basically like a small monitor, So I think technology is interesting. It streamlined things in many ways, but ultimately, you still got to make good product and you got to deliver.
Now, you've been a working actor for decades. What possibly convinces you to go, hey, you know what? I need to be responsible for making these right now. I really need this headache in my life.
It's funny you said it like that. Well, I think just being grateful for all the people that I've worked for. I think it was, maybe Isaac Newton who said that we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, right? So in my career in life, I tell you, Jeff, I've had so many great people I've been able to work for, like whether it was Maddie Simmons at National Lampoon or Harold Ramis or John Hughes, of course, and Lorne Michaels, the people that gave me opportunities. So I'm just grateful. And to be honest with you, it was always in my planning, even from when I was a kid working with John Hughes, that one day I would hopefully get to this point where I could have a company and do my own thing. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm endeavoring to, with Manhattan Films, to make good projects and to do different things. And, always working, always keeping busy. I have Wednesday coming out later this summer, Netflix. And then I just shot another film at the beginning of the year in Hawaii that was produced by Kenan Thompson from SNL and his partner, Johnny Ryan Jr., and that's called Halloween Store. It's kind of a Halloween comedy. And then a couple of years ago, I did Halloween Kills with Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'm always trying to mix it up as an actor and find new opportunities and find new places and collaborators to work with. So in terms of having a company, it was kind of like that thing of like, I don't know what else to do because this is what I've done all my life, and this is what I know best is production. So I'm grateful for it, and I intend to continue to build the company out and deliver more projects, and we want to kind of mix it up. I've learned a lot from people like John Hughes, so I certainly would love to do comedies. When I work with someone like Jason Blum, I learned a lot there because, again, this guy's made it quite a business and sold his business to Universal with Blumhouse and doing horror. So I think you want to mix it up and play to different genres and do different things, and that makes it and keeps it exciting.
Now, this is a hard one for me because you just mentioned that you got to work with a bunch of kids. And every once in a while, I forget how long I've been doing a lot of things. When you see these kids, is there like a flashback situation when you see them and go, God, I remember when I was that age?
Well, totally. And like I said, this is when I was doing the SNL rounds and I took my wife to New York for that, I was also promoting Reacher season 3. But, when I was on the carpet at 30 Rock and I was sitting there reflecting on this, it just hit me on the carpet. Like, this is my 49th year in the business. I started a year later in 1976, and SNL started in 1975, and I was 8 years old. And again, I got to work with Steve Allen. That was one I forgot to mention. One of the greats, and I did a play with Steve Allen when I was a little boy, and I played him in a play, actually. And so it was actually, that's who gave me my start in the business was the great Steve Allen, who went on to create The Tonight Show and, as you know, wrote hundreds of songs and was a published author. So I've been really blessed in my life to have these mentors, to have these people that really inspired me and from a young age saw something in me. So, it's two things. It's kind of surreal all these years later to be producing and to produce a film like Roswell Delirium where we have a cast of beautiful and talented young child actors who did a great job. And I tell you, if anything, they taught us something because it was just a refresher and a reminder to be grateful for the work. They all came so prepared. They were really there and to deliver and do good work. And they were just also very joyful and happy to be there on set. So those were great reminders for all the so-called adults on set, myself included, at the top of the list.
It's just so amazing to me studying your career, going through every time I see you in something, I'm like, oh God, I remember, so many things. We have about a minute left and I'm going to be selfish. If you could give one bit of advice to an actor who's starting to do their career like my daughter, what do you think it would be?
Well, never give up just comes to mind right away. I mean, it's really important to have a sense of determination and to decide to do something. I think that's something that many of us can struggle with in life. But once you decide to do something, you got to follow through. And so I just was very determined as a young kid, and I have been all my life, and I've never looked at it like it was a given or I've never had a sense of entitlement about it. Just the opposite. Because I've been an actor for hire all my life, it's taught me to really value and appreciate the work. And interesting that it links back to the reminders that we all got on set from all the child actors that, you have to be prepared, you have to come with a good attitude, and you have to also appreciate and operate with a sense of gratitude in life. And I think that's really, really important, because no matter what walk of life, you can see it. You can look at the people that surround you at work or in life, and the people that have and maintain a positive mindset and attitude, versus people that just can't and that are more challenged by that. So I think that's what the great lesson that these kids taught us when we were making this film. I'm very proud of them. They all did a beautiful job. And we got great performances from a lot of really beautiful, the seasoned actors like Dee Wallace Stone. Reginald L. Johnson shows up in the film, Lisa Welchel, Sam Jones, a lot of people that an older audience would recognize as well. So it's a really beautiful, nice combination of sort of more established talents and younger talents that are emerging. So it was really, really refreshing that way as a producer to see all that unfold.
Well, I can't thank you enough for doing this interview, and I look forward to seeing you in many more productions. Be well, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jeff. Good being with you.
Well, that wraps up today's show. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. Thanks for joining us. Special thanks to my two co-hosts, my good friend, professional comedian James John, and my law partner, Craig Lind. This show is sponsored by Kaufman Lind. If you or someone you know has been in an accident, contact us at 407-500-JEFF or 407-500-5333 for a free consultation, or visit us at whenyouneedus.com.